always have these parent speakers, parties, school speakers, like, so usually the ones that are assigned to.
So have you talked about Harris since you brought them along?
So band, or science groups, which is what we taking the most out of.
And since you said what?
And then absence is by month.
Yeah.
So then the next one is a direct business. The teacher will have learn to
Last.
their students will filter down. Same thing with group grades. And their standards will most likely have to read. So the grades will look.
Yeah.
Move this one across. What current grades?
Yeah, explain so sorry.
So this is DMS current grade. Have you seen that? So here are all your students. And so you say, okay, down in the first semester, first quarter,
Lost a lot of money really quickly.
And then 6th, 7th, and 8th. Always put the biggest one that you have, which is the most grades or
wow.
and it says, hey, there's 827 A's. So, but here's your list of B's and F's. Students with C's.
They don't always ask for that.
Everybody gets it. But if there's a particular kid that you want to look at, this is a problem. So, the C's, the C's,
Well,
and you can kind of look at that.
What's that?
direction. It's,
yeah.
So we are going to merge them together
He's lost.
and then try to get it relevant security so that the teachers have their own dashboard. The thing that we're kind of working with is, okay, so what would they like to know, or what should they know, that they don't, that we need to show access to, to give access to. Now, you were working a finger on evaluation. That's one thing I'd like to tap in. And so, ideally, if we can get that, they would have evaluations, and it just gives, where they are. There's no writing.
All right, well.
You can't, it says aesthetic, but you can't get anything in order.
Lending help as well.
You can't edit just have something, it doesn't push it back.
Just reading the classroom, just like,
Where things are, so
Well, we try to do the least restrictive things that go along, or something.
So,
And I know Ian's like, you want to do things fast.
Good.
that's it.
Shit.
Good.
On your ass all the time.
I've got to spend more time with it. We're going to have to come over to another session with me.
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm in, I want to use it. The
Yeah,
thing
well-
is, I do feel like I'm actually, like we just decided, some things you were just going over, and I'm like, yeah, that DNF list, I'm on every day.
Yeah, so the idea is that you only have to press one button to get into the system.
All
and
right.
one button to navigate. So
Well,
two buttons to
hopefully
get
you
pressed.
sleep
To
well,
get
then
everybody in EMS, and then you have
It's
to
still there to show
scroll
up
get
to.
down. Whereas with Power School, you've got to go in and navigate a little bit more. So it's already set up, and it's
Yeah.
Power School. So it goes once an hour and says, what information do you have?
Not a bad idea.
Okay. Do you have any new information an hour later? So it's pretty firm.
Yeah.
Not that grades change, overnight and things like that.
Okay.
But Yeah, and you have that on.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
And I do think
See you
that,
later.
although
Bye.
we're gonna have to kind of think through the evaluation thing, I do think right now that system is pretty intuitive. I mean, I have figured out how to navigate it pretty well, but there are still some things I don't understand.
Well, and it's not to say that you put everything up there.
Right.
What you're putting is, you know, we say,
Progress or.
here's where you now stand.
Yeah.
But it would allow them, you know, access to, here's where the evaluation system stands. But I've got to figure out how to get a data set, whether it's making a connection or getting a download for that.
Mm.
This is helping the elders one doesn't work.
Whoop, whoop.
All right.
So,
I can't think of anything better.
Keep you out of trouble.
I think you'll be great.
you know what? I had the best year of primary life.
Well, as you know from the bishopric, it is that idea of a brotherhood. So, you know, as you select your counselors,
We're in that week, sorry.
you're already going. It
Chris, are
is,
you in the district?
say again?
Are you in the district?
No.
What do you do?
Elders Quorum.
Oh,
But, you know, I say, you know, that or typically I don't like meetings, et cetera. You know, we meet on Wednesday evenings. I love that association, you know, it's Nick Merritt, if you know Nick Merritt, and the big guy, I can never think of his first name, Saxton.
Nice bus.
No, that's Michael, his brother, the Enterprise bus.
His wife, like, did prayers.
Yeah, exactly. He has the big ranch out there. Just the most down-to-earth guy. Love him. And then Clay Myers, who's retired from the sheriff's department. That's the four of us. And love that. And they asked me to do missionary work, and I have absolutely loved that. And it's not my thing. I was just like, I'm not spiritual.
did you serve a
don't
mission?
say again.
Did you serve a mission?
Yeah,
Where'd you go?
Houston, Texas.
yeah. Houston, Texas, make it.
But you went to California, right?
Yeah. I just knew where he went.
But, so once a week, I take the missionaries out. When you think about Hilliard, that's about as homogeneous, you tell me a more homogeneous area in the United States. I'm sure there are a few, but what I've seen is, as we consistently go out every week, the Lord starts to make things happen that you would have guessed never would have happened. I got my Mountain Dew out of that area.
Oh.
But I need to shut the door.
Oh, you're funny.
Sherry gave me that assignment. How's your new machinery? Farm's out now? How's it doing?
Really well.
So funny because I hear your wife talk about it.
Remember when we
He's
came
driving
to
me
your house?
crazy.
We came to your house, remember? When we got that big car?
Oh, yeah.
Steph and I, we used to stop by.
Uh-huh. Why don't you do that more often?
Yeah, well, it'd be nice, you know, friends who would reciprocate things.
Okay.
That was-
I just look back at our first couple of years, how close we were as a whole group, you know, our wives and and I don't remember the last time I did anything with Joe and Billy. You know, at least, Steffi and I, we rode back and forth together a couple of days last year at the PLC conferences, her and I, and.
Because didn't she go when we went to Florida?
To Louisiana.
Was it something like? I don't know. There was one thing that like Stephanie went to and Tara.
Well, I know this, I remember, I'm pretty sure it was Louisiana, because didn't they all go on an alligator tour when we were the last day or something like that? Was it somewhere else? Where's the place we ate we had lobster every night, and there were those fried clams, do you remember that? You don't remember that? Okay, then it must have been somewhere else, it wasn't Florida though, because I would have known that. The only time I've been to Florida was to see a shuttle launch.
No, we went on like that dolphin tour.
No, I wasn't there then. Oh! We went fishing or something like that.
We just like.
Was that Florida? Yeah. Are you sure it was there? I don't know.
So right now.
It was a male.
it's,
The
it's on
Caucasian
the
male was there. Might have been you.
Attendance incidents.
Those were some good days.
And of course, the deer
And
hunt.
finally, it's like, okay.
That was amazing.
So the first thing is there,
Yeah, that was amazing.
you can select the school grade again, when I
Stuff
stuff like
like
that.
that. Remember
Now,
we-
probably when you go for dollars. But right now, you two go
Yeah,
up
that's
the road,
right.
get the 401.
Yeah, now, whoa. The thing.
So Verizon
Caught turkey.
is fine.
Only had a hole in it for about 8
At
seconds.
VHS. To Verizon. Crashes.
Oh, gosh.
Well, really, what else were we supposed
Do
to
you remember when we about hit the deer? We had the 4-wheelers on the back? That trailer that I don't know how we didn't wreck there. And then right where you
One of these is, I think what it is.
remember all of it was on fire.
What I think it is, you've got students
Yeah,
who
yeah,
are.
why I just handle them off the interstate. Probably wasn't even the right zone.
Across there. But put a little level security on there and push it out, no worries. Then this right here is student can across the district by this. So this right here, we've got to select the school gate house. Across that. And then this has base speed, all the pulling. That won't be an issue. But if you go up here and it says, all right, they've had 16 incidents of this is daily. You can also go in here and drill a little bit. It just smooths that out. And the same thing right here with those incidences. Are you sure? looks like this week. So now we'll go to select the student, again, for your filters, 2,000. But if we go into, so we're now, we've got 32. Here's salary, this is the gauge that will have and then total incidences, I'll change this. But this is Swiss. And now, that is, fitness pathways. So I'll take all of the statements out. So we, so then we got the directory, birthdays, but I think I'm ready for, yeah, so we'll get, you know, yeah. Well, I think what we have is something that we run the maps. So we say, okay, here's your email. Here's your
Yeah, well, yeah, sure he is.
Oh,
He's gonna use that to show the CKA stuff, so. Is that gonna be at too much of an angle for, Caleb and Dan? Do we need to turn it out just a little bit?
I like
So
the
it
fact
doesn't
that
have a
we
glare on
had
it?
5 slides.
Yeah.
Well, you told me to make it proof.
Okay?
What he'll start out with.
He starts with,
Report, so he'll start there first.
George and Brenda. George isn't here yet.
Sit.
Will George come up there and do his presentation?
I'll just sit us here, and if he decides to hook up from there, or Brian decides to sit next to him.
What do you want to get rid of?
Yes.
Go that direction.
So here's, whenever you get rid of, just to protect yourself and others, just make a list. Who's the, you know, give to the board, you may have to, or I can do it, which is great. I can look at it.
Hey, food service must have said, I thought it was the easiest thing.
If the equipment is way old, prior to 1997, so, I don't think it should. In fact, no. It's, because you're kind of quasi on it, but is it state money or not? Yes. One thing that I've seen is people have reached out and we've got some more projects or you can sell it to the public. The question is, does the state need to claim that amount? I can make an argument. You just then make a sale. If it's bid, then it's required a little bit different practice. So,
You just have some thoughts and things that are just, you know, things that have been there for a while, and you're not using them, and you don't need them. You take the products to the store, because you got three warm in oven, and you're throwing them in the oven. Well, yeah, I'm taking the track on.
yeah.
I really should have called you about that, I was just like, yes, let's get everything.
Here's what we don't want.
Yeah, I am. You got a question? He's just really not. He's really nervous.
Yes.
I wanted to be accounted for.
Yeah, there was no money taking in.
Okay, yeah, I'll.
That just went shared with
Oh,
you.
actually.
Oh, it went, you're not, okay. I went to take it over.
It's either on that one or maybe
Yeah, I know Janice just took it over and
she put it in Alice's metal salvage pile.
yeah.
How come I got Oreos and no one else did?
What's that?
How come I got Oreos and no one else did?
Yeah. I didn't put that there. I don't know if you put that there.
Well, whoever did, I'm glad because I got Oreos.
Somebody surprised you.
No. I'm not in good theater. Then I'll be here.
Yeah, the bus should be paid for. What we're down to is getting reimbursed.
Yeah, it's just the lease. My kids want to know we got a
Hear more and more about people taking
See what the kids think, it should be like
Had it been us post.
Hey, Jack.
So Katrina and Lily were very worried about you. You gotta bring me some trees. So I was like, he'll be fine. No, you better bring me some trees. So they're worried about you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you.
James Titus first.
Yeah, we put
Well, we're just excited. This summer.
I saw him. I didn't mean to do that.
Calling me up at this point.
I'm a pen thief.
You know, same here.
I'm a pen thief there.
I'm just going to Walmart
If you look at But that's exactly, you know. That's the thing. It's well, how's it going? Good, staying busy? Mission prep still going good? Still enjoying mission prep?
Yeah, that's great.
That's a fun class.
Yeah, it's just everybody got some good jobs.
You don't get a call. It's pretty good. I've learned a lot. These are slippery.
I like them. Like them. Awesome.
Feels like a slippery slide. Well, the thing is the wheels kind of grab on the rug. Yes, and you slide out of it.
Just gotta wear it in, guys. Gotta wear it in.
Well,
Jamie?
I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to do this.
Bank signatures for you and Caleb
Okay.
for the meeting.
Okay. So don't run off, Caleb, after the meeting. You gotta sign stuff.
Don't hit me.
I'll try really hard. And, you know, you can scream and hit me back. No. Krista, did you want one? I do.
So is it?
I'm gonna sit back and watch.
Right? Yes. Yeah, you can tap
It's
that
on my side.
You know, this one.
Did you want one? Sure.
I got one right here, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna also move over there, because I have to use the dock camera.
Thanks.
So we've got one.
If I can find my dock,
This.
I have a tendency to hide them on my computer.
These days, I really want to use that gap.
Thank you.
Break it out.
So I have a question on some of this stuff, though. On the food end of things.
He's doing your track.
Last year we were about $2 on grill. This year we're about $3.50. Is it because of the more busing, moving stuff around? Because if you look at the numbers on there, there's quite a bit more money that we're spending on. I'm not opposed to the mills. I'm just trying to figure out where the money had went.
Yeah, it's been good. We got kids, so you know, soccer, we're feeding kids, and so I was.
No, but what I'm saying is the mills have gone up, but it's per mill. Last year it was $2 per mill, and right now we're like at $3.50 per mill.
That's awesome. Well, what we did is we were subsidizing
Okay.
heavily, and we lessened the subsidy.
Okay, so that's what, okay. I just seen that in there, and I was just going,
So my question I have on to that.
How you doing, Debbie? How about you? Good, thank you. That's not what I want. I'll leave it off until.
Okay.
But pull it. Well, but I'm just saying,
I got it on already. Is it easy there?
Okay. Okay, we have been in an executive closed meeting, in the executive session, so I do need a motion from someone to come out of executive session and go into open session.
So moved.
second.
Motion by Caleb, second by David. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are in open session. Welcome, everyone. Wow, this is the most people I've seen in one room in a long time, but that's great. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jenny, second. Oh, there you are, Joel over there, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are down to the consent agenda items, and I will read through them, and then obviously if anybody wants any of these pulled out for regular stuff or for discussion and to go on the action item agenda, let me know. All right, we have a reading of the minutes from January 5th, payment of bills, the district calendar for 2021-22 and 22-23, the proposed calendar, early notification stipend, learning by design contract, a bus lease financing bid, and a Red Devil News equipment TriCaster, whatever that is. So, does anyone want to pull anything? Okay. Then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Jenny, second by Joel. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself from check number 00114438.
Thank you very much. So noted. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the abstention on the one check noted. Thank you, Caleb. We have presentations. A transportation. George, you're up.
I have to apologize, I proofread this thoroughly, and first thing I noticed on the first page was a typo, so.
It happens.
Ready?
So for accomplishments this year, of course, all of you had to approve most of this, but I have replaced a special services bus through the severe service program that was extremely costly and needed more repairs, so we got rid of it at an opportune time. And then we replaced another bus at a 25% savings through the DARE program. We have, I feel it's a big accomplishment, we have kept the buses operating with minimal disruption this year, which I think that's an accomplishment for the whole district. But and from March 18th to June 30th, we delivered 40,928 meals to the public.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And that was, we actually delivered another 17,000 above that in the rest of after the end of the year. So our strategic issues we're looking at, to keep our bus replacement program going, we need to replace 2 buses. And I've been discussing with Mr. O'Neill, he would like to equip the new buses with the DOT-approved activity seats, which it wouldn't be any additional cost to the district. They are approved. It would reduce this bus to approximately 46 passenger capacity, which for activities I don't feel is an issue. But
So what are they? I mean, it would go from what? What is it now?
on activities, we usually limit it to 50 kids.
50, so 50 to 46?
Yeah.
Okay.
The nice things, these are reclining seats with seatbelts.
With seatbelts, but they can
Oh, no
recline and
seatbelts?
sleep.
No reclining.
Oh, not reclining. Dang.
Oh, dang, you got the athletes all excited.
We just actually had them demonstrated today by Thomas Bus, and they're actually quite nice seats. I was impressed. They're comfortable.
So it'd be like being on a Greyhound kind of thing?
Like I said, they don't recline, but other than that, they're actually more comfortable than the Greyhound seats.
Okay.
Quite nice, actually. Cody and Jackson have been buying some of them, and that's where Bubba saw them and brought it to my attention. So anyway, that would be I think it'd be a good thing. We'll never be able to use them for a route bus, so we'll have to mile those out on activities, which we usually do anyway. So I don't see a drawback there.
Okay.
As far as our static funding and continuing needs, that ELDT standard that we've been told about for and postponed twice now, it is supposed to be due in February of 2022. It's not really going to be a big issue for us because we've been trying to train to that standard already, but we will have to get that program approved to be sure that we can still train to that standard or see if we need to modify it.
Okay.
And then the new FMCSA regulations starting this January, it doubles random drug testing frequency, and it also requires all drivers to be tested 100% annually. Before, the random testing was all they required, so there's going to be a slightly increased cost in that.
I was going to say, yes, another federal mandate with no money behind it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to have all kinds of issues with recruiting and retaining bus drivers and aides, which we always do. And bus referrals this year were up slightly, but I have to give a shout out to EHS, had 0 bus referrals for 2020.
Wow.
They're doing something right. But the raise 34 to 31 to 36, not alarming, but something to keep a watch on. It varies every year.
Well, I mean, when you consider that, we were out of school for 3 months.
Yeah.
Or more. 'Cause of
But
COVID.
also when you consider that several years ago, we were over 200. So
Yeah, no, we're way down
We've
from
made
where it used to be.
And the bus accidents, fortunately, we haven't had any more hits, so we're back up to 417,000 miles now without an accident. Hopefully, we can keep that up this year and bring that up close to 1 million.
That'd be great.
Keep it up this year. As you all know, you can see what happened to our field trips and activity miles.
That sharp decline.
Yeah, and of course, there's savings for us, but it's not something I want by any means. In fact, if you want to, our cost per mile decreased, and that, I'm sure that is almost entirely overtime and staff pay.
Although fuel
Because-
prices did come down a little, so.
Our miles did decrease also. So, age of the bus year, actually, we're at a new low for the age of the bus years, but we got rid of that one bus last year that was older, and it helped drop it a little bit, and also put me on the good side of the WDE.
Yeah. So we're under 10.
Yeah. And I'm going to start doing the same thing here because you financed those too, you approved the purchase of those, so I'm going to start tracking the rest of our fleet, and I was actually going to track it kind of like I am the buses, but because they're non-reimbursed, I'm thinking it might be more beneficial to you as a board to have a spreadsheet with the annual usage, the condition, and the year, and
Actually, that'd be really helpful.
Maintenance cost on them.
That'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
the other thing is, maintenance cost on them as well, George, so we
Yeah, if we're gonna
identify
do a
Providence buses,
spreadsheet, That'll
yeah.
be easy to
Yeah.
add in there, yeah. So that's probably what we'll do starting next year. That I could have done it this year, but this year would have been artificial. I didn't. go
Well, and
out.
yeah, and then
I
just
haven't
give us
collected
sort of a
that.
recommended, rotation schedule. Is it going to be 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years,
Yes,
whatever it
that's
is?
what I'm thinking. We talked about staff vehicle replacements.
Well,
and-
I know, but we should,
It wouldn't
that's
hurt
what
to
the
add some
age is.
data.
What I'm saying is let's rotate them out before we get there.
So, resource needs. I need to replace the 2 buses to continue that. The clearinghouse, we have to do that now also. And it's not a huge amount, but it's going to be a cost every time we hire somebody. And we also have to do a query every year on every one of our drivers, actually any CDL holder that we have in the district. We will have to do an annual query, and it's about $150 a year or somewhere like that. It's not huge, just so you know. But it is another cost. And again, the replacement of staff travel vehicles, I know budget constraints are going to really cause some troubles with that in the next few years. But
I
at
mean,
least we'll
that's,
have-
but the offset is if they're aging and they're really
Yes.
starting to increase in maintenance, then
If we
that's,
start, if I start tracking data. like
Yeah.
we'll have-
Yes.
Okay, and then potential savings, I have have the DARA application in. DARA is running way behind this year.
Go
We're
figure.
supposed to know maybe this month, maybe next month, if we're approved, and then we start the process.
okay.
I did reduce our bus inventory by one bus. Ownership costs on that bus were minimal, really, but it just sat there. There's no sense doing that. I had one activity driver resign, and I held off on replacing that position. We'll see what happens with activities
Well, we
next
need to
year.
know if we're having activities, I guess, still, huh?
At least we've had a few lately.
No, I mean, it's been great, but,
Yeah.
you know,
But we don't know what's going to happen. So, of course, reduced activity and field trips will save our operational costs, unfortunately. But, like I say, that's not something I really am behind, but we don't have any choice but to deal with it. So, in conclusion, the average age of our buses dropped. We are going to need to replace some individual staff and operational vehicles. We have finally got the maintenance, plowing, and work truck situation in pretty good shape. COVID-19 response, all this data is really, it's kind of artificial.
well, it just, you see the sharp declines, we know why that is.
But anyway, hopefully, we will stabilize in 2021, 2022, which there's no guarantee of that either, so we'll see.
Appreciate it. So keep us posted on your DARA programs, and we'll see what we get.
Does anybody have any questions?
Did a good job, thanks.
Thank you, George.
No, I appreciate the information.
job.
This is really good this year, George. I like it a lot. And a spreadsheet on the other vehicles would be great.
Yeah, I think the spreadsheet might be the way to go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. Hey, next we have food service. I see her coming in.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the last time that we spoke, one of your questions was what the difference was from the summer before to this last summer. So I included this slide to just give you an idea
Yeah.
of what it looks like. You can see that it was just a tiny bit higher from what we had served before. Thanks a huge part to George and his team and being able to go out and deliver meals out into the public. We don't know what this next summer is going to look like. We do know that the way that we're running right now, we get to run through the end of June. So we'll have to see what we want to do with that. But significantly more kids obviously were fed because we were able to deliver. As you look at August to December, you can see that we are serving significantly more, especially at the breakfast inn. And the money end of it looks great, and I was really excited about it until I started looking at all the areas where we didn't bring in money. So it looks great, but there's quite a bit of expense or revenue that we didn't get. We're not doing anything with the bakery, so we don't have any of the Red Devil money that we were getting.
Do you know how many emails I got that they couldn't buy Thanksgiving dinner rolls and Christmas dinner rolls from the school district? Seriously?
Yeah.
How many emails did you get?
Oh, yeah, we got lots and lots of phone calls. There's just no way. I don't know whether you know how the system works. We used to have staff that would come into Central Kitchen and then they would go out to their schools. Well, due to COVID, I was very concerned about having that keep going, because if somebody got COVID and we ended up having to
Spreading it,
yeah, it could potentially hit every single school and we could lose food service. So I couldn't run that risk. We are starting to bake a little bit again. We'll see how much we can do with the staff that we have on site at Central, but we are starting to build that up and see what we can do and
That's good news.
get an idea for next year.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way, the community missed it.
Well,
A lot.
I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did. That
A
just
lot.
means that they will appreciate it all that much more when we
That's
can bring
right.
it back next year, so. because of COVID, there were a lot of grants available, and I was fortunate enough to get 2 different grants from No Kids Hungry, a $5,000 grant over the summer, and then $16,000 that I received just a couple of months ago. And then we had the $49,000 in CARES money. And with those funds, I've been able to replace a lot of old equipment that needed to be replaced. I feel very fortunate that right now I feel like what we have is in good shape, is going to last. You never know when something's going to break down, but I do feel like we're in really good shape to not have something major go down that we're going to have to replace on the fly.
Let me ask you this, on the, when the feds came out and said that they were going to cover the cost of school lunch kind of thing, was that through a separate funding mechanism, or is that one of those grants? Is that separate?
That's separate from this.
Okay.
The free meals is, what they did was, in the summer, all meals are free. So they just extended that summer program through this entire school year.
Okay.
So our funding is at a higher rate. So it's the same as what we would get during the summer, and then all kids are free. And then they extended it so that we're able to serve even preschoolers or kids who are not going to one of our buildings, and be able to offer meals for those families as well, which has been
And that's what they
amazing.
continued until June?
That will go through
Yeah.
the end of June at least.
Yeah.
The School Nutrition Association, with the Legislative Action Committee, which I'm a part of, we are asking that the feds consider extending this out indefinitely. So we'll see what happens. I don't anticipate that that will happen, but I'm hoping that they'll do something.
We'll see what the package has.
Exactly. I just need to give a shout out again to Transportation for all the help that they gave us. Maintenance for our shed that we were able to get, that we're serving meals out of, all the work that they've done to.
A great write-up in the
heat and-
paper.
Yeah, thank you. Getting us a generator, and then administration has been phenomenal. This summer coming in and helping put together bags, and then we offered 10 meals on one day for Christmas break, and instead of hiring or paying my staff to come in, the administrators came and helped hand out those meals.
We didn't get paid for that?
No.
Yeah, your normal wage. So we handed out 14,400 meals in an hour and 15 minutes. which
Holy
was
cow.
just- And the bad thing was about it, we were supposed to be open for 2 hours, and I thought I had estimated high enough, and I didn't even come close. I had people coming, following the truck down, telling me stories. I was in tears. I was in the kitchen making up more meals. The next day I made up meals and delivered them to homes. It just, we could have done a lot more than that. So the need in our community is much higher than many people realize.
Yes.
So,
No, and the local food pantries have been just the same position. I mean,
yeah.
they
They've been
need donations.
inundated. Yeah, exactly. So what's next? Thank you. What did I put there? So, like I said, we're going to maintain how we're doing things through the end of June. Our equipment's in great shape. I would like to eventually bring the health bars that we offer into the serving line. It actually is part of federal regs that when a student leaves the serving line, they need to have a reimbursable meal on their tray. So when we have the health bars outside of that area, then we're actually having to serve additional food. We still want to be able to offer all those fresh produce. So by moving it inside, it would allow us to actually cut some of our food costs, because then anything that they picked up would count towards a reimbursement.
Okay.
So as money allows, I'd like to do some reconfiguring of things. Our biggest struggle is, and probably from the sounds of it is going to continue to be, the price of food and being able to get food. Every single time we order food, I have a list of things that we're being outed. And then we have to either try to find a replacement item, which is always at a higher rate, or we have to change the menu to accommodate what we can get and can't get in. It's been a real struggle, not only for us, but for every district. Our co-op is going to go out for bid again this year, hoping that maybe if somebody else bids, we might be able to get some of our pricing more in line with where we think it should be. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I can't thank you enough for all the hard work you and your staff have done, and the fact that we've been able to feed the community like we have is just remarkable. So I was very, very pleased to see the write-up in the newspaper. I know how hard you guys work. I know how hard Georgia's people work to get that out. I like to hear that the administration was doing it as well. I think it's great. Obviously, we want to make sure that our kids have nourishment, and I know that there are a lot of families and a lot of kids that go home and are hungry on the weekends, and
Right.
to the extent we can help, that's what we need to do.
Yep, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So can I just add, before you leave, the School Nutrition Association has nominated Linda or you're in the running for, I don't know all of it for sure, but it's a recent tweet from the school lunch folks, the School Nutrition Association. Meet Linda Martin, UNT County School District number 1 in Wyoming. She's competing against Lisa Ward. We won't worry about that from Idaho.
She's really nice. I like
The two of them are candidates for Northwest Regional Representative on the Leadership Development Committee. You can watch the video. You can actually vote for them. So if you look up school lunch, @ on Twitter, you'll be able to find.
We can go in and vote?
And you can vote for.
Well, there we go.
Appreciate all your votes.
At school lunch, all right, there we
I would
go.
love to be on this committee. I hope that I get it this time. It's the second time that I've run. Can you what?
It's no mail-in
Yes, you
ballots.
can mail
Sorry,
in
Joe.
ballots,
No
yeah.
mail-in ballots.
Thank you.
All right,
you.
so Doug, tell us again what we need to get onto.
Twitter.
Well, I'm not on.
I'm
not
not.
there. That's why I'm like,
Is there any other way to vote?
I know.
I've been blocked from Twitter.
I go back to the.
I've been blocked from Twitter.
Your kids will do it for you.
I'll find out.
At school lunch.
Yes.
Twitter at school
Okay.
lunch.
Yep.
That's what I think. Okay. The kids do it for me. At school lunch. Is that
All right.
spelled out or?
Yes.
It's the symbol.
No, it's the @ symbol, Jenny.
Actually, I can have him do it for me before we.
I was gonna say, you've got somebody there that knows how to do it right there.
I'm not sure if I even know how to do it either.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the voting doesn't open until February 15th.
Okay, we've got time to figure out.
Calendars.
President's Day.
If Ryan Thomas can do podcasts, we can do Twitter, okay?
Isn't that the truth?
Oh, that looks like a
Oh,
whole
my.
lot of numbers, Ryan. Good heavens. Like we can see
Do we have that somewhere?
I will be better than that. Just want to let you know where I got it from.
Okay.
You ready for me?
We are ready. We are on to discussion items, and the first one is budget.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is, as you're probably aware, a pretty important item.
The 100?
No, what this is, and I'm talking about the budget
Okay.
timeline and how we do it. What this is, I thought it would be important that you guys realized where John and I find the numbers that we are using. And this is, you can see estimated impact of LSO's work. This is recalibration work with the $100 million gone. So what I want to show you is here, you
They're
can
still
see
sticking to that.
the reduction of 6.54%. For us, that is $2.6 million. What that does is it reduces our entitlement, our guarantee, from 39 to 37 million dollars. I have a better chart, but and the numbers will be easier to see when I get to that chart. I also wanted to show you this. Remember, that's 6.54%. What this is our enrollment. And so we get a double whammy. You can see on this slide here that
Slide down.
this 46, that represents the number of students based on the 3-year rolling average that we'll lose. We actually have lost more students than that, but it's a 3-year rolling average. We have 2 years now of -1 up 10 students, so it represents a loss of 46 students at $15,000 per student, which is another 1.74%.
So we're looking at $3 million?
We are looking at $3.3 million. That represents 8.24% that we have to cut from our budget. As of these documents, that potentially can change. That was the recommendation from the recalibration committee. There is now another there's more what is it called? There's more legislation out there that might change that.
Make it worse.
For the worse.
This is what we are acting upon now, so this is what we'll show you. So at the top, you can see that 3.98 million, that was from the 100 for 2021. That's our current operating budget. The WR is Wyoming retirement reimbursement, so our total allotment is $40 million. So that's our operating budget for this year. You can see that the legislative decrease factor of 6.54 actually brings it to 2.62. That's back to that figure that I showed you. You can see the ADM calculations. The 46 students is there, which represents a loss of $681,000, which is a total loss of $3.3 million. I wanted to show you that's where our starting point is. I really appreciate that Senator Schuler actually made the effort and called me and said this is what she believes our figure will be. Today, there's additional legislation, I think it's House Bill 89, that adds another $50 million cut, which would be another $1.3 million, so it would be 4.6. And I'll just say it, what's offensive about the 89 is it actually goes into the funding formula and changes the funding formula. Remember, the whole process of recalibration that they just went through and made a recommendation is done in a large committee with input from everyone. A few representatives and senators put a bill together that basically changes all that.
And cherry picks what they want to take out.
And if you read it, I'd encourage you to read it because it'll be disastrous. But what it does is it allows them to stick their hands into the funding formula and manipulate it. Where they manipulate it, some of this you may see as positive, some you may see as negative. The first thing that's the most obvious is a 10% cut to all administration, central administration and building administration. But if you look at $1.3 million additional cut, you cut all the administrators in this room and all the administrators in our district 10%. That only represents about $150,000. So we still have 1.25 to cut. So where are those cuts going to come?
Teachers.
Our teaching staff and support staff.
We have to riff.
So the other part of that is it takes a 185-day contract, which we pay our teachers at, and reduces that to 180 days. So if you take a teacher's daily rate, which is about $250, between $250 and $350, depending on their experience, that's what they'll lose, 5 days of those. The interesting part about that is the way we're funded. We're given a block grant, and then we make the decisions. So even though 87 reaches in there and manipulates it,
89, yeah.
it's still up, 89, yeah, it's still up to us. They really can't tell us how much to pay any of our employees. What they can do is cut the teachers' contract days. That is in statute. That is horrifying to think that they'll do that, and they can do that. It's funny is they pull from certain places based on, I guess, what they feel is important and essential, and then they add to certain places in the model. That is really scary. Back to my presentation, sorry. Got a little out there on 87. We are operating under our budget right now as we have to cut $3.3 million. Okay, I'm going to go on a little bit. Remember, this is our current operating budget, $40 million. We have a 13% carryover right now. Those of you that have been on the board for a while know that the low was about $375,000 when we took over in 2009, and now it's close to $6 million in carryover. If that $40 million is reduced by 6.5%, our ability to maintain a carryover at 13% drops. We have to spend down the carryover. It's the first time I've ever come to you and say, we have to spend down the carryover, or we potentially give it back if we go over 15%. So this is what John and I have come up with. You can see that right now that this is 13% of our operating budget, or $5.2 million. Our carryover is roughly where's that at? Is a little more than that because of
The part
hold
that we'd have
harmless.
to, the part we'd have to spend down?
Yeah, so I can show you that. So, what you'll see when I get to our budget presentation is this idea of this concept here, and I'll just show you. This idea of maintaining between a 10% and a 13% fund balance in these years. You can see that if you maintain a 13% fund balance, we can spend down the budget by, our carryover by $436,000. If you maintain a 10% fund balance, that's $2.2 million we can spend down our carryover and still keep it at 10%. That means that if you spend down the carryover by that much, we have to cut $1 million instead of $3.3 million. So now let me get to my other presentation part. I guess if there's good news is we have a healthy carryover.
Healthy carryover because it's been a stinky year.
Okay. Those of you that have been on the board for a while will recognize this document. This is a document that we use to show the board and our staff and the community how we budget. So this is our budget. Can you guys see that? I can go bigger.
Yeah, go a little bit bigger, Ryan, if you could.
Maybe. It's a little too big. Okay. And so I'll review these premises and how we do what we do. So our major premise is the budget is a tool to provide resources to support our instructional program. Our vision is to provide the highest quality of education for all students. Our budget priorities will focus on that vision. These are our priorities. Our priority has always been to balance the budget, which is required by law, to meet the legal requirements of FAPE. And if you're familiar with the law, FAPE is a free and appropriate public education. We go way beyond the minimum requirements of FAPE. We provide a much better education that's required by law. Even our online system, I think, is better than FAPE. But by law, we have to provide FAPE. Protect core programs, K-12, which means focus on language arts, mathematics, social studies, and science. Scrutinize all expenditures for possible savings, and we truly mean all expenditures. Reduce staffing when necessary through attrition, and I think this is an important point to always remember, is right now I don't believe we have to riff. I think we can do everything through attrition. And I'll get into how that works probably more in the future, but that's a big key, especially for our staff, so they don't start worrying, especially our young teachers. This is a priority that I truly focus on, provide a salary increase for all employees. So you may wonder, how do you do that when you're cutting $3.3 million? Well, it means we have to cut $3.6 million in order to provide an increase. And that's my goal. When we talk about these increases, you're talking $750 for a teacher. You're talking 25 cents an hour for support staff, and you're talking $1,000 for an administrator. Typically, the difference is the number of days they work. It's not a huge raise. It's not even maintaining the cost of living. But it's contractually something I believe we should do. When we hire a teacher, we show them a salary schedule and say, in 30 years, you'll be at this point. I've personally had my salary frozen 5 times in this district. It's not a healthy way to maintain a district. So again, that's my commitment. Can it be done? Well, that's our goal. Transparency is part of the reason why we're doing this tonight, and we'll do it in the future. For the next 4 months, you guys are going to hear a lot about the budget. Also, we'll put a lot of information into the hands of our principals and our staff, and provide a public hearing for our community to come in and talk about what we're proposing to reduce. Board reserve, and this is new. This is the part that I mentioned, is maintained between 10 and 13% for 2022. hopefully, as we go along, you guys can understand what John and I will be working on. We'll set that cap right now at 10%, but do everything we can to cut more than that to raise the carryover between 10 and 13%. The reason why that's important, for several reasons, is we're using the carryover for what it was intended, rainy day fund. But we're also preparing for the future. Next year, we're also looking at roughly the same amount of cut. The year after that, we're looking at the same amount of cut. So we better do as much as we can now. And there's a lot of strategies, trust me. I wish I could spend a great deal of time to tell you this. And I said this to the principals at least 4 times. You're going to have confidence that we can do this. You're going to have to trust that we will look at every expenditure. We'll look at every position. Where we can save, we can save. We talk about cuts as Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1 cuts are surface cuts. Tier 2 cuts are, you're going to draw a little blood. Tier 3, you're going right to the bone. As John and I have looked at this budget, we believe we can do these at a Tier 1 level.
Okay.
If we have additional required, another 1.3 million, we'll have to go into Tier 2 cuts.
I mean, John's magic, but I'm not sure he's that magic.
So, he is Magic Man. So anyway, that's kind of our priorities. That board reserve is critical to our budget this year, that we can use and spend down that and not be required to totally cut $3.6 million. We can cut it to a reasonable amount. Since I've been involved in the budget, we have cut as much as 1.8 million. We've never cut any more than that.
We've never been over 2 million.
Last year, we cut just under $1 million. So we know how to do it, and I think we can do it, and end up with our classrooms looking very much the same as they do now. And that's our goal. Does it mean that class sizes may go up? Yes. But not significantly. I can spend more time on that if you would like. So this is the process. We've already started.
Can I just say something real fast, Ryan? And maybe they're listening, maybe they're not. But our legislators in the legislature need to know that they are constitutionally required to fund education. And the fact that they are doing this just makes me insane. Because first and foremost, they have to fund education. Then they can play with the money all they want. But the fact that they are coming after education with this kind of cut for these small districts that cannot maintain it is asinine, and it needs to stop. That's all.
Here. And like I said,
it makes me crazy.
we'll agree, and we'll voice that vocally. We'll continue with what we know is what we have to cut. Potential lawsuits, who knows? Many of you are probably-
it may be another Campbell County.
Maybe you're aware that in the late 80s, our district was one of the cost-based model. That's what our Constitution says. You cannot establish a cost-based model and approve it and then cut $100 million right off the top.
Yeah.
That's bad enough, but to cut $150 million is even worse. So anyway, sorry I got on that soapbox too. This is the process we'll follow. Probably the 4th bullet down, focus on the legislative session. I think it's important as things move that we are vocal with our legislators. As I expressed, I was very appreciative that Senator Schuler actually found me, came to me, and she's very open and provided good information. We'll continue. Today is the first day we really talk about the process with the board, develop strategies to prioritize. These are our priorities moving forward. Operational budgets will be first. That's as far away from the classroom as we get. That's where we start. Can we get all of it from the operational budgets? No. Operation budgets only represent about 13 to 15% of our budget. They're fixed. But can we make inroads to that deficit? Yes, and we will. We'll cut where we can. Staffing is what we talked about through attrition. We've lost kids. So when you lose kids, you can make changes to staff at all levels, K-12. What we do to K-5, we need to mirror in 6-12. That's our goal. We'll use the same strategies with staffing that we've used ever since I've been involved. We'll look at our classrooms, our number of student-teacher ratio. The number that I'm looking at now would only increase the class size per teacher by 1 student, K-5. Does that mean you might have a third grade classroom with 22 kids in it? We already have 22 kids in classrooms in Clark. So yeah, your class sizes will go up. First grade, you may have 22 in a classroom. Third grade may have 16. It's just the way it all works out in terms of numbers, but it's consistent across the board. And that's how we look at staffing. We'll look at every position. How we do that through attrition is if a position opens up that we consider essential, if we can move one that's not essential into that spot and then not rehire the non-essential position, that's what we do. And it works quite well. If there are positions that we do not need to replace, we'll not need to replace them. Does that mean there'll be some pinches and some changes? Yes, but as long as those are further away from the classroom, that's kind of our goal. Addenda, right now we spend about $1.2 million on addenda from athletic and activities. It's up a little bit this year because of our online school. But those are extra pays. Some would say those are away from the classroom. And by the way, 89 cuts 50% of our athletic budget. 50% of our athletic budget.
Holy cow.
We couldn't operate
All activities.
for that. All activities?
All activities, so that's,
And like theater, everything.
600,000.
that's K-12, you get money for each ADM at each one of those levels, and it's cutting those monies by 50% at each level.
Great.
So addenda, we would look at addenda.
We won't need your buses, George.
Or as drivers, they'll drive themselves. The addenda will look at how we can save money in addendas. Again, if we don't need to replace positions, we won't. You guys realize that some of the most hardest things we've done are to reduce certain sections and activities where people are still angry at us. We did away with the program that we no longer offer in 3 and 4A, and they're still mad at us. But it was part of the cuts that were required at that time. So addenda's tough. Activities hit right at the heart of what kids are all about. Subs and extra pays. Right now, one of the positions we could take is just no overtime. That would save us about $250,000. Not a great deal, but still it's making progress toward our savings mark. Subs, we probably won't be able to offer the leave incentive that we've done in the past. We're still in a position that we cannot incentivize having people come to work sick. So we'll look at other ways. We've instituted some other things with our substitutes. We may have to even go further than that and try to fill within when someone's absent. Again, the challenge with that is you're pulling from teachers' planning time or from other areas to cover areas. But again, if that's the commitment of that building and that group, those are things we can look at. You can see that we'll be working on the preliminary budget from 2/2, which is today, till 4/13. I'm hopeful that we'll have the 100 by 4/13. Last year we didn't, which means probably this year we won't either. In other words, we are shooting a moving target. But by then, I think we'll at least know what legislative updates and actions have been taken. We'll know enrollment projections and staffing updates. By then, we've already approved the lifetime of service stipend, the early notification. We'll know our staffing at the 1st of March. So it gives us some time to work with that. We'll work with the principals, of course, every chance we get. There will be an opportunity to take it out to our staffs, have them discuss ways that they see they can make cuts. We do encourage that they kind of stay in their lane. You know, high school shouldn't recommend that they cut classes in the elementary. So we'll ask them to stay in their lane, but make suggestions on how to save money. Again, there's things that, still a lot of unknowns. We'll communicate with you, of course, every board meeting. Important dates, lifetime of service stipend application will go out tomorrow. Early notification goes out tomorrow. You can see the legislative session reconvenes in person on March 1st. Hopefully, we'll know where we're going. We'll continue to review. Some of the things that are challenging is I still don't know if WASBO, which is the business managers, when they meet together, it gives us a good idea of where they see the state going. I don't think we have a date for that yet because they probably won't meet until the 100s close. We will not leave
If the session's not convening till March, we're not gonna have that 100
Yeah.
until way late. It's just not gonna
Trying to be
happen.
optimistic.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
We will involve our principals in staffing decisions at their level. And how that works is, for example, if we say we're going to cut one FTE out of your building, full-time teacher equivalent, the principals need to be involved in that discussion and where those come from and how that works. So they'll be involved from the get-go. We spent some time today talking about that. I will, probably several, whatever you want to call them, blogs, talk to our staff about where I see the budget and where I see the legislature going with the budget. Will there be power in them communicating with our local representative, which his name is on House Bill 89? I hope. And at the same time, I think Senator Schuler probably needs, thank you, keep going, keep us in mind.
She needs to go in and kick butt.
Yeah. Let's see where I'm at. The unknowns, you guys know we still have to look at insurance, meet and confer. All that sits out there as an unknown based on our budget. You will have a draft number 2 budget by 6/1, which is typically where we've been. I think public comment period between that 6/1 and 6/15 to allow the public to respond to our budget. Budget hearing again is set for 7/16, which is the 3rd Wednesday. You guys saw the first part of our strategic planning and operational budgeting that we do by transportation and food service making their presentations today. The point behind that is that you guys get a chance to see what our departments are working with and the struggles they have. We're fortunate, transportation is reimbursable. So cutting a bus driver doesn't make any sense because we're reimbursed for that. Food service right now is in a place better than it's ever been before because of the reimbursements we receive from their meals. So next month, you'll hear from activities and special education, and then following that, you'll hear from maintenance and technology, and then 5-4 is K-5 and 6-12 curriculum. Those are the presentations made. I'll try to keep you updated by the actions taken in these panels based on our priorities, operations, staffing, addenda, and subs and extra pay, so you'll be able to see the dollars that we've saved by changes we've made. Probably the best way to put it. That is the process we follow. We followed ever since I've been involved in the budget since 2006.
Except you
Challenging
still have
year.
the contracts all backwards, you know.
What's that?
Except that contract thing still bugs me.
Yeah. Again, you guys understand the problems that we face with timing. 4/15 is by law, April 15th is when we have to offer contracts to our certified staff.
But it's before we know what the budget
Yes.
is. See, that's what
March
makes
is
me
when you
nuts.
approve the administrative contracts. I would be leery if I didn't believe that we could do this through attrition.
Right.
Even if we have to cut additional $1.3 million, I don't think we would reduce through a RIF. We would look at potentially reducing salary because we've written that into our negotiations over the years.
Yes, we
Not a good scenario for anybody. But in other words, my point is we will keep our staff. We want to keep them. We'll reduce where we can. The other side that probably needs to go without mention is we'll lose staff over this.
Well, and how do you recruit?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it really difficult to recruit if we, if we really do have key positions that need to be filled.
Yes. And that was brought up again today by our principals, is we may be letting some of our best and brightest go because they're retiring, and what are we going to be able to fill them with?
Yeah. Come
it's
to
an unknown.
Evanston, you may or may not have a job.
Well, what you have is all the other school districts doing the same thing we are, offering these incentives, so you may get a 25-year veteran from Green River moving to Evanston. That doesn't help the budget, because in Wyoming, you have to hire them at the years of experience.
Right.
We'll have to beat the bushes for new staff and talented staff. Again, we have high expectations for our staff, but challenges ahead, most definitely.
All right, well, that was cheery.
You're welcome.
Not much cheerier.
Now what's the bad news?
Yeah, now we get to talk about administrative contracts, now that we have to cut them by how much?
If there is good news, and again, I still stand by what I've really tried to tell the principals and anyone who's asked, is we can do this.
Yep.
We can cut based on our carryover spending down and what I see in terms of our operational budgets and reducing through attrition. We can cut $3.3 million, even 3.6
If we have to.
if we have to. I don't think I can say that if we have to add another $1.3 million on top of that cut. And I don't think I'll be the only one. Everyone in the state will be in the same
That-
boat.
House resolution, or HR 89's gotta go. I mean, it's bad enough what they're telling us.
Even the House bill that's out there, the revenue bill that's out there, does still have a stipulation in it that the legislature will look at ways to increase revenue. I think we have to be vocal that they need to look at that 1 penny tax. It'd really be great if they target it toward education. Roughly, they predict that 1 cent sales tax will add $200 million per year.
Yeah, and put that in the education fund.
Right now, we're $300 million per year short in the education budget. That's not just this year, that's forever, unless things changes with oil and gas.
Yeah. I don't see that happening.
So we need to look at revenue too. That should be our encouragement. So Madam Chair, that's my budget presentation.
Well, thank you.
Questions, additions, things you can't live with that we need to modify?
I mean, I think you've put the priority, where we've always tried to do it. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And we'll hope for the best and plan for the worst, I guess. So next on the agenda is the administrative contracts. Like I say, now that you've told us, we have to cut those.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, this is a list and contracts of the administrators that will be up for approval and renewal in March, the March board meeting. This is the timeline established in our policy governance and our policies. Proud of our administrative team. They had to listen to this positive presentation too. They're doing a great deal of work with our new evaluation system. Not only have we been able to maintain our kids in school, but we are still working toward the goals we have of our high reliability schoolwork and now our evaluation system. They're very proud of the work they're doing. Our principals are leading that work in the schools, and I worry that if they get targeted by 89, that we'll lose some of them. Some of our talent individuals.
You can't go anywhere, just so you know.
I've told them that, but I worry. So, any questions about their contracts? Again, the way that we do that is their contracts will be approved in March at their current level. And then we identify them based on negotiations where we end up with that. And now it'd be based on whatever happens with the legislature.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to keep all of our administrators. You guys have been fantastic, and we don't want anybody to go away, but, we're going to do our best. I hate this.
Yep, it's tough. So just information, like I said, we'll approve that next month. Are you guys okay if it comes up on the consent agenda, or would you like it on a separate approval item?
I want it, I don't want it on consent. I want it on a regular agenda item.
Okay.
Thank you. Unless anybody disagrees, okay.
No, that's fine.
Lifetime of service stipend.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, I talked briefly about this last board meeting. The lifetime of service stipend was put together at the request of our staff to generate some kind of recognition for really a career in our school district. So it used to be 25 years. We set aside $75,000 out of our employment benefit fund. And 6 years ago, I told you that we probably have enough money to do this for 15 years. Well, I'm happy to tell you that we've been able to put money into that. We still have money for 15 years. So we can't probably guess any longer than that, but sooner or later, we'll have money to replenish that. Our goal at the time we proposed this was to have this available for everyone that comes into our district and spends 20 to 25 years. This year is unique. This is not really a program that would encourage anyone to retire early. It's more or less just to recognize their effort. So what we've tried to do is a little bit to encourage some to retire early. So we lowered the requirement age from 25 to 20 years. That's the first thing, because we have some that are on the bubble that are old enough to retire, but they wouldn't qualify for the stipend because
Because they haven't been here
20
long
years.
enough.
They started in their career later. Same stipulations as before, they can use 20 years of service in the district or 10 consecutive years in our district and count the years of service in another district at a half a rate.
Does it have to be a Wyoming district?
No.
Okay.
We allow anyone. So that's probably the first thing we changed. The other thing we changed, let me get down here and we'll focus on that, is we have options. These are the options. If you remember in the past, we offered $100 per year of service, $80 for unused sick leave payout instead of $40 that's in policy, so we double that. And then insurance, we allowed them, based on the number of years they've worked, to take our insurance at 110% of the premium.
Right, they pay the premium.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, it's not an incentive to retire early because you're still paying your insurance plus a little bit. The reason for the 110% is because our insurance, because of our group and our health, is better at 110% than they can still get on the marketplace.
Right.
So that group of retirees does not hurt our pool, it actually helps our pool at 110%. So choice A is really targeted at those that have already, that are between, I'd say, 60 and 65. So you can see that it's still 100 years for every year of service, $80 for unused sick leave, but the difference is they can get the insurance until 65 at a rate of 85% of the premium. This was one of the ways.
So we'd subsidize the other 15%.
Yeah. So, an example, if you're 63 years old and you have 2 years to get to 65, you can, through this stipend, put money in an HRA and have your premium paid until you're 65.
So, and the thought being is that, again, if we are losing a more experienced teacher, which I hate, their salary cost versus a new hire
Yes.
more than makes up the difference for what this incentive
Yes.
is. Okay.
And again, this fund comes out of the employee benefit fund. It doesn't come out of the general fund.
Okay.
So it may take a little bit more this year, but hopefully in 2 or 3 years we can replenish it. So it's not giving away the farm. It's truly putting someone who's at 63 saying, I'm ready to retire, but I can't afford the insurance. Now you can.
To get you to Medicare.
Yeah. The second option is for someone who's already reached 65 and for whatever reason are continuing to work. So all we did is double the years from 100 to 200 for years of service. So potentially if I have 25 years in the district, before I get $2,500 plus my unused sick leave, and I can put it in HRA. This just doubles that. The reason for the double is really if you look at the cost of 15% of the insurance to the district for 3 years as compared to this payout, it's roughly the same.
So that's what I was going to ask. What's the cost difference between the two choices?
So choice B is $200 for each year of service, $80 payout, and then the 110% of premium. But these people who take that are already at 65. They don't need the insurance. So, and we have a lot of individuals that are 65 and older. It surprised me when I looked at the list.
So this is a choice they would elect?
Yes.
This isn't a choice the board says we
No,
want
they
this
elect
one?
it. We have an application, and I think it's in your packet too. They apply. I bring this back to you in March. I'll show you the dollar figure associated with it. You can see the numbers. The goal with the lifetime of service stipend has been 10 employees, 5 certified and 5 support. Our goal now is 25. So it will cost a little more money. The reason why that's important, again, is out of those 25, if we can find 5 positions that we don't have to replace, that's almost $500,000.
Yeah.
So some of those will be essential, some of them we'll have to replace. If you have one teacher at the high school that teaches this subject, and that's the only teacher that retires, we'll probably have to replace that position. But it's nice to have some options.
So this is the notice that needs to go out tomorrow, which means
Yes.
it's on the action item for approval tonight,
Yes.
and you're just sort of explaining what it is, okay?
So my question to you, and again, John and I have gone over this, Doug and I, Joe has gone over this. If you think it's too much, we can modify it down. If you don't think it's enough, again, we're not trying to give away the farm. We are trying to just get 10 more individuals to retire than they normally
So
do.
can a 55-year-old with 30 years' experience do this?
Yes.
They've hit the rule of 85, so they
As
can
long as they hit
retire,
the rule.
but they won't have the insurance until they're 65.
Right, but they can do this 85% one until they're
Well,
65.
the challenge with that, we've only allowed 5 years.
Right.
The
So
reason,
Oh,
you've
the
gotta be 60.
insurance,
Yeah,
yeah,
then-
okay.
when we put this together, we looked at 58.
60.
Or they can go get another job.
Because 58 is typically when they hit the rule of 85.
Right.
So can I take insurance from 58 until 65? That's 7 years, right? Probably not. So you automatically qualify for retirement in Wyoming at 60. So that was our target age. So 5 years, if you have 35 years of experience in our district, you qualify for 5 years of insurance until you're 65. If you have 25, I think it's 3 years. Because again, calculating that out, you'd be at 63. So that's how that works.
But they could choose to do
They
it
could,
till
yeah.
younger.
I mean, they could retire, they just wouldn't get,
That's,
They
I have
generally
family
get
members that
5 years,
retired at 58 and went to another state.
Right, yeah. I've seen a couple of counties.
all right, well, we will, I guess, wait and see what the board does when we get there. Let's go on to our Caterpillar backhoe. Who's in charge of that one? Jaren?
There we are. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Bringing before you tonight a lease for a Caterpillar backhoe. In years past, the districts had a backhoe, then they got rid of the backhoe. And as I did a little bit of calculating, looking over the budget the last couple of years, big reason for the backhoe is, one, it helps us a ton with our summer project that we can use. We can actually take that lease payment each month, and if we use it for a major maintenance project, charge it against that major maintenance.
Okay.
So then our general funds aren't using that, it's actually major maintenance that's paying. So that's a great benefit. Another big thing that we've noticed, the last 4 years, kind of on average, we've spent anywhere from 9 to 15, upwards to $20,000 to get outside individuals to come and remove big snow piles. So we were either paying Consolidated or Five or somebody else to come in.
But you don't use a backhoe for that, you use a front-end loader for that, don't you?
You could use either one.
Either one.
You'll oftentimes use a front-end loader if you wait and wait and wait. Or if you stay up on it, you can actually use a backhoe for it.
Backhoe, you get multi-uses out of rather than a front-end loader, which has one use, so.
Yeah.
So what we've been finding, we've actually had this backhoe in the district since August. We've been renting it each month and had a couple major maintenance projects there.
Just on a month-to-month basis?
Yep. Talked to them this last month and I said, what's my option to lease this? It is a 2012. For those of you who know, if you were to buy a brand new backhoe, you're $85,000 to $120,000. This is a 2012 in excellent shape that they're giving to us for just over $41,000.
So at the end of the lease, they
It's
take it
ours.
back?
It's ours. Oh, okay.
It's
All right.
It's a
So it's
lease
not
to
just a straight
own.
lease, it's a lease to own.
That's the only nice thing, it's a lease
I
to
feel much better
own.
about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but then
I feel
what?
much better.
They're also willing to take everything that we've been paying as rental. but
The one we've already paid?
Towards it.
Okay.
And apply towards our lease.
Oh, I
which
like
is
that.
Which is another win-win for that. And so, Madam Chair, as I said, members of the board, I bring this for you for discussion and then kind of approval later on.
So you realize, of course, Jaren, that, you know, we just had this horrible news about budgets, and then you say, hey, can I spend some money right next day?
I do. I wish I would have gone first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're in a bad position, dude.
So what percentage do you think major maintenance is gonna pay on this thing? Do you think you'll get 50% out of it?
I would realistically, anywhere from about 40 to 50%, depending on the year. I look at
actually
what
good.
we were already paying just in snow removal.
Yeah.
I mean, that could pay for another third of it really easily. And so anytime we have a major maintenance project that I can put towards us, we'll do that.
Okay.
The other thing, and I know one of the things that Ryan talked about this evening was really kind of scrutinizing our overtime. What we have found by using this backhoe, it's actually less wear and tear than a truck that's moving snow. But take, for instance, EMS, where we've been using this, that's our first one we use, it has cut our time down by a third.
Well,
Just
that's
because of
good.
the size of it and what we can do.
So we're not paying as much in overtime.
Efficiency.
This is an anomaly winter,
I was gonna say, we haven't had any snow.
but we have noticed it has been great. We usually start there at EMS and then helps
And we
out
have
like
people
more.
that can drive these things, right? Okay. Just checking.
They got it out of the crack jack box, but it works really well. I approved it, so it was, yeah, they're qualified. That was one of the things, and we spent some time this summer.
Okay.
Those who were qualified and then running others through it. Rick and I can attest. Drove along, spent some time with us, showed us how to use it, so that we were comfortable using
All right.
that as well.
There you go.
With the maintenance, you're gonna do digging, excavating, things like that besides it? All of your one call, your 8-1, your, what do you call it?
811, wild one call,
And all
locates.
that's gonna be done beforehand, because as soon as we own the equipment, we take complete liability of what we're digging.
Yeah. And this isn't the only piece of it. We've got several big pieces of equipment we do for locating. Nobody can dig even a tree hole without calling our local digging service for that very reason, because we become liable.
Because it's on us then, yeah.
Funny story, I'll tell you, Horizon High School was built 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. We've been in that building maybe a month. Had a local contractor doing some work behind Horizon, hadn't contacted, done any locates, including talking to the technology department, and all of the new fiber that we just laid into that building that runs all of the distribution for the district was cut.
Oh my
in 2
gosh.
minutes, and so
It's important.
very, very important to have those calls made, so thank you. Other questions about this?
Well, if we're on the underground stuff, you guys have been all trained, underground, trench safety, competent trench individuals, trench boxes, because of liability reasons too. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they have all been trained and they have
those who
been,
use it have been trained in that, but as we need, if we get further down, I don't anticipate that we're gonna have to go as deep as some of the stuff. Most of our stuff is within about 3 feet. As we get past the height of a human.
There's just a lot of regulations, and anytime you get below 3 feet.
Yeah,
trench boxes,
that's what I'm saying. You get to 4 feet, you're gonna have to have
Access and egress gets involved.
ingress, egress, lay back your trenches, trench boxes, so that's what I'm saying.
So there's certain things that I have to feel comfortable that the school district say, hey, let's let
At that point,
experts
we-
do that.
That would be maintenance, the major maintenance, I imagine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at that point, we get a
hire that
contractor.
out, And go through that. Like I said,
Yeah.
anything, digging some trees, trenching for some sprinklers,
Okay.
removing some asphalt, stuff like that is probably gonna be 90% of it. When it comes to big excavation like that, that'll be done
Okay.
through
Do
major
contractors.
maintenance and contracted out. For our safety, it'll be a lot easier.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jared. We'll see you in a few here. All right, last but not least, CKA.
And if we thought the news before was good.
Right.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is a time for you to discuss if we want to move forward with CKA.
Yep. So for those in attendance in the public and whoever else is listening in, the Supreme Court had ruled at one point in time that policy CKA was null and void because we hadn't adequately added the trainer qualifications in. We thought we had, apparently they didn't think so. There was another portion of a different lawsuit that was still active. That judge has come out and said, at this point in time, he doesn't want to go against the Supreme Court, so as it stands right now, we don't have a policy that's in effect. So the question for the board is, do we want to have the policy and do we want to start over? And that's sort of on the table now for discussion, and we asked the administration and our attorneys to prepare a packet in case we decide to vote on that. It's part of our action items tonight. We've gone through Jeff has gone through the statute with a fine-tooth comb, and we believe we have, the notice is what we would be adopting tonight, just the notice of what we intend to adopt. It's not any actual adoption yet. There's a whole lot of other steps in this rulemaking process. But the first thing we have to do is adopt a notice that we intend to do this. So if we intend to do this, we'll move forward, and if we don't, then somebody will need to make a motion to continue the item, but open for discussion. Wow, crickets.
Well, no, I'm going to say, it's a thing that I have been approached about, and overwhelmingly, I have not been approached by anybody that is opposed to this. And everybody that I've talked to has been in favor of this, overwhelmingly in this community. And if there's people that are opposed to it, I have not heard anything from them. So, in my opinion, I think we still need to move forward, because this is something that has been wanted by this community, overwhelmingly.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't even know, like, when we first adopted the policy, because we weren't aware that we needed to operate under rulemaking, which we're not an agency technically, and no district in the state has operated under the rulemaking law. But, you know, how long did we work on that before we adopted the policy? A year and a half? 2 years?
We started it in June and we adopted it, I think, in June, about a year.
It was about a year, and with a lot of
we were
work
very
groups and a
thorough.
community input.
We had a lot of community input. We involved our police officers, our sheriff's department, community members, students, teachers. It isn't something that we took lightly. We put a lot of forethought into it, a lot of man hours, and overwhelmingly, everybody that we polled, like Dave said, the majority want this policy passed. And so I'm in favor of doing it all over again.
May I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, on behalf of the students, we want to go to school feeling safe. And I feel this is the best way. Right? The best way to fight fire is with fire, unfortunately, but this is the best way I feel to keep our students, to keep my peers safe, and to keep us all safe. So, if we have to do it again and do it again, I say let's keep going for it.
I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Especially coming from a student, thank you.
You know, I have said a number of times that having this policy in place is not the answer to all ills, but it is one of the tools in our toolbox that is available to us. And I think the way we have structured this in the past and the way that we are proposing to do it again is very thoughtful. We are very deliberate about what the qualifications are for those that train us. We are very deliberate about what the training that the teachers would have to take. We are very deliberate about the process they have to go through, the psychological evaluation that they have to go through, the equipment, how they wear it, what the rules are. They're putting their jobs on the line if they decide to do this. And I think we've done as well as any board could have done. In fact, quite frankly, everyone has copied us because we've done such a good job. And so look, I understand those that oppose the policy. I get it. I wish we lived in a world where this wasn't even something you would think about. But as long as this is one of the tools available to us, I think it would be irresponsible if we didn't do our best to try to implement this along with every other safety precaution we've adopted over the last few years. We've worked really, really hard to make our schools safer. We've worked really hard to make the buildings safer. We've spent a lot of money on our safety program, and that's one of our goals in our budget, one of the goals that we adopted as this board. And if we're going to follow that goal, I think this is something we need to do.
Well said. Yep.
Well, and you brought up an interesting point about other school districts copying us. A reason that we don't have a lot of school districts yet in Wyoming that have adopted this yet is because they were waiting to see what was going to happen with ours, and they've kind of used us as a model for what they want to do. I think once this passes, I think you're going to see a lot more districts that are going to follow suit and use our policy, because we have put a lot of work and effort into making sure that it's the best that it can be.
I realize that we may get challenged on this again. I realize that there may be yet another lawsuit if we go through this again. Mr. Phillips and I have talked about strategies on how to deal with that. And I think, at least I personally am comfortable with moving forward. And so when we get there, unless anybody, has other thoughts that they want to add, when we get there, then we can have that discussion, and I will be looking for a motion to approve the notice as presented. So, anybody else have anything to say before we move on?
Yeah, just one thing to add. I have a second grader at UME, and we were talking about fear Sunday night and what not to fear, something that they fear about, what they're scared about. And I have a second grader, he says, "Dad, I don't like going to school when we have to practice the lockdowns." He said, "I just don't like thinking about it." And this is coming from soon-to-be 8-year-old. And the back of my mind is when we have a policy like this, that we have staff that are trained to protect the students in their classroom, and that's no longer intact, my son's at more risk, and he has more fear at this point. And so, like I said, to be voted on this panel, on this board, is that I was in favor for it then, and I'm even more in favor for it now after talking to my second grader, who doesn't like even to practice lockdowns. So if we do have this policy, I think my children are more safe. So I just want to leave that with you.
Just a second. I agree, 100%.
All right.
Madam Chair, can I just add one thing?
Yes.
Maybe two. If you haven't checked the legislative docket, there is another piece of legislation proposed that does away with gun-free zones. And personally, I'm opposed to that. It's an extreme scary proposition. That's where we need to oppose this, to allow anyone into our schools at any time
Right.
that has a concealed carry to carry a weapon, and specifically at activities, makes no sense to me.
Now, we still want the school to be gun-free, except for those that
Exactly.
are trained.
21.3.132 allows us to do that, allows the board to set that criteria and our community to set the criteria, instead of a free-for-all that anyone that has a concealed carry permit can carry into the schools and into governmental offices and into activities.
Well, Utah's got bills, 2 of them, getting rid of concealed carry permits altogether, so there you go.
It'd be interesting. But anyway, just wanted to, so you know that you need to look at that legislation too if you are concerned about repealing gun-free zones.
All right, let's move on. We have school reports. Do we have any school reports today? I see a few wondering, huh? I don't know what you've done to yourself, Diane, but...
It's not good.
Chairman and board members and Mr. Thomas. I wish I had a really cool story to say that I did something like amazing, but
You were in an avalanche or something, right?
when you're first pushing bark that's not even in a bag, that's pretty pathetic. So anyways, might have this off in a week, and it's been 6 weeks already. So, in fact, Mr. Peterson and I were at physical therapy together, so.
Really hard not to
Push
do
it out,
this.
so sorry. I just want to thank the district for the support, and you guys for the support that we have with Solution Tree. We had Maria Nelson in our building today, supporting the work that we're doing as we are doing the PLC process, the professional learning community, the work they're doing in planning, and the individual work for student interventions, and that piece of it. It was, it's amazing to see how they respond to professionals coming in and the work that they do. So thank you for that. As well, I'd like to thank the teachers and the staff. I know it's been mentioned about the whole COVID, but I appreciate them for following the guidelines that have been put forth as we reopen school this year. And for the support of the parents, sending the kids, and the kids willing to wear their masks in the mornings when it's too cold. The kids walk, and as I'm out there walking with them or just in the hall talking with them, very rarely are there more than maybe 1 or 2 students of all the kids that are walking that do not have their mask, and they'll say, "Hey, remember, pull it up." "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah." And I don't know if they pull it down when they go around the corner from me, I don't know, but when they're there, really, it's only 1 or 2 kids that I'll just remind once, and then they wear it, so that's been good. The teachers, thank you for helping those kids, remind them of, to follow that guideline, because we are still in school. As somebody said today, 100 days, and we've been in school 100 days this year, so thank you. And last, I would like to thank the North PTO for the fundraising they have done through the fundraiser that we did at the beginning of the year. Something that has been pushed a lot, I know when Dr. Ingles was there, was a marquee, electronic marquee. With the fundraiser this year, we were able to get the money for that, as well as we were able to get 10 TVs to put in the classrooms, like the ones that are here, and have that for the teachers. So that was a great addition to our school, as well as Mr. George with the Scholastic Book Fair that they have in, each year. He was able to buy the mounts for the TVs on the walls. So there's a lot of good things happening in the district, in the elementaries, but at North Elementary as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Diane, appreciate it. Mr. Brown?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd like to invite Mary Bound and Lindsay Welling to come up and join me if they would.
Of course.
Last night, I spoke with my brother in Michigan, and we discussed what a mess education is right now in his state. And on NPR, the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis, is ordering teachers to go back to work. I want to celebrate where Uintah County School District number 1 is today amid the national trouble and concerns with education. Today, as Diane said, we've reached a milestone of the 100th day of school. Our kindergarten classes today celebrated district-wide. We all celebrate that we are still strong and in school, and we just completed the winter Y-Talk, and results indicate that there is some work in pockets to do, but in most areas, we will come out at the end of this year stronger than we ended in 2018 and 19, which is a huge tribute to our teachers. We have completed all sports and academic extracurricular activities successfully. And in fact, Crystal Ross Kelly this week started practices for the school music at Davis, Beauty and the Beast. We also thank our school board, like Diane, for your support, and we thank our 3 wonderful superintendents for their leadership. In early October, my school counselor and psychologist sat down with me, concerned that teachers were under high levels of stress, and we were worried at Davis about colony collapse. I met with Superintendent Thomas and his secondary principals as a team with Superintendent Wrigley. We met together. And at Davis on October 19th, we unveiled our plan to respond to this school crisis. Of our 8-part plan, one area of focus was to support and build our Davis culture. I want to recognize tonight the response and efforts of our Davis Middle School secretaries, Mary Bound and Lindsay Welling. These two have single-handedly created a system that every day has something for Davis staff to look forward to. The week after October 19th, Mary Bound scheduled a movie night, date night, with social distancing and masks for our staff. Not as romantic, but still fun. October came. Every staff member throughout the school got booed that month. They arrived at school with their favorite snacks sitting on their desk to start their day. In November, we had a huge turkey, Tom, who had no feathers. The feathers were hidden, and as teachers found those feathers, they turned them into the secretaries for a wonderful prize. December, they created a bulletin board with staff members' faces with masks on, and you had to identify every staff member for a prize. The week before Christmas, Marion and Lindsay sponsored a hot beverage bar where the staff could enjoy coffee, tea, hot chocolate with a variety of fun and legal ingredients. January, There was the hunt for my favorite grizzly bear, 399, and her 4 cubs. The cubs were found all over the school, and every day when you'd find a bear, you'd take your picture with it and turn it into the office that went onto a bulletin board. And there were, again, drawings for prizes. February will bring the idea of You've Been Hugged. So just from some of the staff members at Davis, Mary and Lindsay are the best secretaries I've worked with in 15 years in multiple buildings. They care about us and they want to make our day here special. It is the highlight of my day and every day to go and see them. They accept me in the office with open arms and make me feel better. Whenever I'm down, all I need to do is go in and spend a couple of minutes with them, and I walk away feeling better about myself. They have saved me at work and in my personal life in more ways than one. I don't think I can ever repay them for all of the kindness, love, and friendship that they have given me. They truly make Davis Middle School the place to be. How do I describe a hero? A person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Mary and Lindsay are these heroes of DMS. They are school office goddesses. That's pretty. Wow! That wasn't pretty. I admire them both because of their happiness and laughter. They are contagious throughout our school. I take courage. It takes courage to be on the front lines of this school, especially during a pandemic. They see every visitor and student in their office, even the sick ones. Mary and Lindsay took a moment. Mary and Lindsay took on the monumental task of increasing employee morale, which was low due to COVID. Immediately, they implemented activities to get us involved in new ways. Every month, they put together a different team-building activity that helped us show and feel appreciation for ourselves and others. Their outstanding achievements have made the time fly by and increased teacher and staff morale and productivity. Mary and Lindsay's generosity and selflessness know no bounds. They are the heroes of DMS. Mary and Lindsay are the best. They are upbeat, fun, and always positive. You can't leave the office without a smile on your face, even if you're not having one of your best days. They make sure that we are taken care of individually and as a staff. They saw the morale was down in our building. We were definitely struggling, and they brought in fun. They are both so creative and, again, very thoughtful. They found a way to make each day a little easier. I wouldn't survive without Mary and Lindsay. They are organized and efficient. They definitely help me do my job better. They are on the front lines, so they're the first to greet parents and students. They do an amazing job at making them feel welcome. You don't find a student at Davis that doesn't like them or have unkind things to say about them. Everybody loves Mary Bounds and Lindsay Welling, teachers, parents, and staff. Not only are they experts at their jobs, they are also experts in humanity. These ladies are always willing to help, always smiling, always a pleasure to work with, and always going above and beyond the call of duty. I don't think that they have ever had a bad day. They have taken on extra responsibilities to improve the morale of our faculty during this very difficult year, creating friendly competitions, treats, and prizes for teachers and staff to participate in and enjoy. They are committed to Davis Middle School. They are committed to helping students. I am fully mindful of the fact that I will never work with more talented, competent, kind, and generous secretaries for as long as I live. Mary and Lindsay are irreplaceable, and we wouldn't trade them for the world. Finally. Hold on, finally. I have been in education for 30 years. In my previous district, I closed 2 elementary schools. Those years were so hard, but they pale in comparison to this one. Whenever I feel I can't do it anymore, I think about not getting to come to work with Lindsay and Mary. These 2 secretaries are my best friends, and we have been together this year and for the past 5 years. Through births and deaths, weddings and graduations, celebrations and disappointments. Simply stated, they not only make my job better, but they make life fun and enjoyable. These 2 secretaries are the lifeblood of Davis Middle School. So at this time, I say thanks to these 2 dedicated employees, But I also would say thanks to all the secretaries in this district, and I know that every principal and superintendents could be here tonight saying the exact same things. Our secretaries are essential in this district. They hold us together, they keep us flowing in the right direction. Thank you.
So I'm going to add one more testimonial. I have a senior in high school that still talks about wanting to go back and hang out with Mary and Lindsay at DMS. And I know she's done it, actually.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Brown. I have 4 kids in this district, and it's a great comfort knowing that any secretary our kids go to and help us, usually when they're not having a good time, we're taking care of it. It's a great comfort. My report from the high school, just a few things. The first is pretty cool, the Daniels Fund Scholarship. We have 4 finalists this year, and that's more than we've ever had. If you know what the Daniels Fund is, it's the highest scholarship you can get. You go to wherever you want, and it's a full ride, including books, tuition, extra funds.
Awesome.
We have kids now attending college under the Daniels Fund, and so their next step is an interview, but I wanted to recognize those students as the most we've ever had. Next, we have dinner theater going on right now. Tickets are sold out for this week, but there's more shows following. We got approval to serve dinner at dinner theater by our culinary program, our students involved there as well. I guess a shout out to all our kids and staff involved in activities. We just got them a state dance and cheer. Still going strong. We're even offering preschool this semester again. So working hard for that. We appreciate your support. Lastly, a lighter note. A call from a concerned citizen today. We had a snowmobile around the practice field, but it was our own snowmobile.
Mr. Thomas is out there again on this one, was he?
One of our young workers. The area games for Special Olympics in Pinedale were canceled, so we're doing our own Thursday. We turn in our times, but they were preparing the field for that. But we appreciate that as well. Kind of a funny thing, but we are being watched. But we appreciate everyone's support, the teachers coming. All the things that our country is facing, people not wanting to go. It's actually a lot of stress when you have to tell a teacher they can't come to work because of COVID or whatever. So I appreciate the people we are working. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cole and everyone. Just a few short announcements. Today, as mentioned earlier, is the 100th day of school. And it's one of the most exciting days for a elementary kid. We have kids with like gray hair, kids with wigs on, we have teachers with wigs on. And so it's a lot of fun. They do math games, 100, they do writing games, they do reading games. So this is a super fun day today at Aspen Elementary. In addition, I just wanted to have a shout out to a lot of the staff members. They took a lot of extra duties on a lot of these staff members just to make sure that kids are able to eat lunchroom outside of their classrooms. And so a lot of my specials teachers, Jamie Bounce, she's out with COVID right now, but just has really spent a lot of extra time making sure we're using our lunchroom and our gymnasium to feed kids every single day. And so we have to, just the second after kids are done with PE, we've set up a bunch of tables, chairs, and people have just really jumped in and done extra duties to help out, which is really great. Also, just shout out to staff members as well for a lot of the screening efforts that they've done every day, taking temperatures, saying hi, welcoming kids to school, making sure they're in good health and ready to learn. So shout out to secretaries as well, nurses, as you can imagine. Just every day there's something they need to do that's COVID related, whether it's calling people or helping kids get home, those kind of things. As well as to all the teachers, substitutes, and support staff. I just really appreciate them and wanted to throw a shout out to them as well for their
great work this year, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I got to tell you, that 100th day for my boys was
Yeah.
extremely awesome today. They were trying to get me to let them take 100 cow tags to school, but I had to draw the line there. But they loved it today. I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
At least it was 100 cows.
Could have been worse. Yeah. Oh, Matt's got one, all right,
Yeah,
come on.
I'll be very brief, but I'd fail to be grateful. There have been so many staff members that have been ill, that have been forced to, like others have said, to go into quarantine, their isolation, that get on Zoom, that we set up their services at the school with the support of other teachers and other providers, and those students continue to receive their services, whether that's occupational therapy or speech therapy or counseling, or the list goes on that way. Amazing people in our departments, K-12, general education, special education, but it's been super impressive seeing these folks when they're homesick. And I tell them, guys, take care of yourself. You're okay. Be home for 10 days and get yourself better. And sometimes they have to, but the majority of the times they're getting on and they're servicing their students that way. Amazing folks here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public comment. I don't see members of the public, but I know we had a letter submitted for public comment. Mr. Thomas, do you want to?
This was submitted for public comment by Tim Beckman. I am submitting this public comment in writing since I am not comfortable attending your board meeting due to concerns related to COVID-19 pandemic, which continue to be a serious issue in our community. Congratulations to the board, the administration, staff, and students on the good job they are doing to enable most of our students to attend school in person during these difficult times. In addition, the efforts of the district to provide free meals to students who are homeschooling or attending school through online classes is also to be commended. By the time this is read, we will already have had a board discussion regarding Rule CKA, and most of you will already have made up your mind to press forward with another round of rulemaking regarding Rule CKA. I think this would be short-sighted. Having already failed to adopt a proper rule on 3 previous occasions, and after spending, some say, wasting substantial amounts of time and money on this effort, it would seem prudent to step back and reassess whether it is still a good idea to allow authorized school employees to concealed carry on school property. I think it would make more sense for the board to delay the formal rulemaking process until after you've had the proposed rule vetted by a group of interested stakeholders representing divergent opinions on the subject, outside of the formal and more contentious environment of public rulemaking. Due consideration should be given by this group to the voluminous materials submitted to the board and the courts over the last several years, challenging the assertion that this rule will make our schools safer. Then, if you still decide to move forward with the rule, perhaps you would at least receive additional information and input that will allow you to more properly address the significant issues that have been raised by opponents of the rule and incorporate provisions in the rule that might better address those concerns. You really need to be asking yourself why 43 out of the 48 school districts in Wyoming have decided not to go down the road of allowing staff to be armed in their schools. Especially now, when the pandemic, school financing, and other important issues should be occupying your time and efforts. Why do you see this rule as something that should be a priority? In a world that is being torn apart because of division and extreme position, isn't it time to take a deep breath and figure out how our community can work together on the important issue of school safety? Tim Beckman.
Thank you. I don't think we have any other input, public input, unless, Jaron, anybody? Okay. Moving on to the action items. First up is a personnel contract.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we recommend you approve the contract. This contract is actually filling a hole that was created by the resignation of Keith Fry. We filled his position in-house. There was kind of a stair-step effect when we publicized the position, and this is a new contract. Notice it's a partial contract. for $23,200. It is a temporary contract, which means that there'll have to be a decision at the end of the school year if this position will be in place.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
I'll second then.
Okay. So I have a motion by Caleb, second by Krista.
That was by Dan.
Oh, sorry, Dan. I hear over there, you guys.
We sound alike.
I'm sorry.
Almost identical.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have our lifetime of service stipend, which we discussed earlier. I don't know that we need any further presentation on this one. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I'll take Jenny and Dave. How's that? Any further discussion on this? Questions? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we are down to Jaren's backhoe. Yes, it's going to be Jaren's backhoe.
Pink. I'll paint it pink.
We heard the presentation by Mr. Dennis, excuse me. Do I have a motion to approve the backhoe lease?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Is that Caleb?
It was Dan again.
It was Dan. I know, see, I'm not the only one.
Get rid of these masks.
I know. All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, now we are on a special education-related service contract. I don't think we talked about, this is for Hayden Peak Academy?
We talked about
Madam Chair, members of the board.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it last time.
Yeah,
yeah.
this
That's
would
right.
be a very general questions. If you have questions for
Yeah, we can't really discuss too much.
no, you can't.
So, we did have a conversation a little bit about this last month. Do I have a motion to approve the special, or the service-related contract?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have Dave and Joel, right? Okay. Any further discussion that we can? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Last but not least, we have the notice to approve policy, or the notice of intent to adopt CKA. Again, this is the start of the process for rulemaking. Mr. Phillips.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we have potentially an issue that I want to raise, just to make sure that we're doing this right. We're not just approving the notice.
Okay.
We need to approve the entire board packet, which includes all of the documents that are referenced in the notice.
Correct.
And I don't know if everyone has had a chance to review all of those. We were in a rush to get this done after the judge's decision, and so I don't know if we need to take some time and take a look at all of that first.
I have read through them because, that's who I am. I don't know if anyone else has. I know that there are several documents that are part of the packet. Again, Mr. Phillips is correct. When we adopt the notice of intent to adopt the rule, we have to adopt sort of the draft of the rule and all the other stuff that goes with it. And we want to make sure that, and we have that.
Is there some stuff we still might have added through the community
Well-
that we need to wait for? Or can it be added to that packet later?
Yeah, so part of the process is there are things that happen later on. Once you adopt the notice, and this is what we intend to adopt, here's all the documents that support it, here's our notice of what we intend to adopt. And then we go through a public process, and we have a thorough vetting, and we talk, we have public hearings that we're required to have. We actually usually have more than one. We want to hear from the public to the extent we want to make amendments to the rule. There's a process for doing that and making those changes. We expect to have additional information provided for us, both pro and con, that we will absolutely consider. I know Mr. Bepler's letter indicated that he was asking that we wait and have a community group. The reality is, we've actually done that and thoroughly, yeah, more than once, thoroughly vetted it, and we, at this point in time, believe that we have a fairly well-reasoned and well-considered policy, and thank you to Mr. Phillips for helping us through that. But again, it's up to the board. I mean, I'm going to look for a motion to approve the notice and the packet. But certainly if someone wants to make a motion to continue, we can entertain that as well.
Madam Chair, just so you know, all those documents will be available on our district's website under Board and CKA tomorrow.
Okay.
And so Chris's
If
point is
approved.
that we can still
If
add
approved,
to
yes.
that.
Yes, so, well, we have to add to that along the lines. I mean, there's several steps along the way that we have to go through, and
Right.
Just so you know what those items are, I'll just tell you, it's referenced in the rule, if I can see without my glasses. A copy of the proposed rules the board intends to adopt. You've all seen that. A strike and underscore copy of the proposed rules, well, that's the same thing with an underline under it because everything is new. The statement setting forth the principal reasons for the adoption of these rules. The statement is identical to the statement that we had last time. I didn't change that. A statement explaining the reasons why the rule exceeds minimum substantive state statutory requirements. I added quite a few more references to the statutes in that document, significantly more references to the statutes. Copy of the evaluation of the proposed rules in accordance with 95304, that's irrelevant for us, that involves takings. Copy of the statutes, which don't require any sort of approval. So those would be the documents that you would be approving in addition to the notice.
correct. And like I say, and as we go along, by the time we do a final adoption at the tail end of this, the packet looks very, very different. I mean, there's other
Right.
stuff there. But this is what we need to do to start the process. I think certainly each of you have articulated why you believe this is necessary. I think we have publicly commented many times about the fact that we not only meet, but we exceed the requirements of the statute. We were very careful and deliberate in the way we did this and the way we wanted to do this and the reasons why we felt like it was necessary. So, again, I will entertain a motion unless you have anything else, Jeff?
No, thank you.
Are you going to allow for discussion or just
Well,
the motion first?
However, if you have questions or if you want to discuss first, that's fine.
Well, I just would like to address Mr. Bepler's letter, and I don't have enough time to really address everything that I would like to, but there are a lot of ironies that I find in his letter. First of all, saying that it would be short-sighted. I take offense at that. We have spent numerous hours, and more so our attorney, the superintendents, all of the people that got together for this, the board. And then to say that having already failed to adopt a proper rule, we have adopted a proper rule. I think it's been a huge waste of time and money. And I find that very...
Fighting the litigation, you mean?
For the litigation, I find that very ironic because the policy in and of itself would not have cost this district anything
Right.
to pass. But because of all the frivolous lawsuits and just trying to find any small thing that they could nitpick at, that's what's cost money.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say for tonight, but.
Okay.
Well said.
I'm still looking for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, and the motion is to...
To adopt the packet as explained by
Mr. Phillips.
Mr.
The notice in
Phillips.
the packet.
Yep.
Okay, terrific. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And this will be available to the public starting tomorrow.
You may want to give us a couple hours.
Well, I didn't say by,
noon.
dark
Say what time?
30. I just said tomorrow. All right, we are done with our agenda items. We are at the board roundtable. Anyone have anything for the roundtable?
I would just like to thank all of our administrators Linda, John, George, Jaren, everybody for the work that you've been doing to keep our kids in school. None of you have gone unnoticed. I know it takes a lot of work, and I just appreciate everything that you've done to keep our kids in school, participating in activities, keeping them fed, transportation, everything. I just can't thank you guys enough for everything that you do. Thank you.
I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit. I'd like to thank the staff. Wow. I mean, you like everybody said, you look on the news and across this country, people are fighting to go back into a classroom. And we have just accepted it with open arms. Unbelievable. And we have a phenomenal staff, we have a phenomenal administration, and I wish people would just come take a look at this school district and see how it operates.
I have to say too, Linda, on top of everything else, I've seen quite a few patients that have even talked to me about how appreciative they are of the food. A couple of them, young parents with little teeny kids that I'm not sure would be eating lunches if you weren't doing it, even our little 2- and 3-year-olds. So I think it's pretty amazing what you guys have been doing.
I'd like to piggyback off of that. I just want to thank you, Mrs. Martin, for helping, get this service out to, because I know there's several kids that their only meal they get is the meal that the school provides. So thank you so much, because other than that, where would they be at? So just thank you for that. And it's really helped the students out, so just thank you.
No, I ditto to all of it. Thank you guys very, very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Second, third, fourth. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. I don't think there's an opposition, so we're going to call that one carried.
No.
Yeah.